about them Broken Bow fans. Hey, they're going crazy out here. I've never seen anything like it.
Never seen anything like it. Got plenty of reason. Plenty of reason for Broken Bow fans to be going crazy this week. Welcome back. Another edition of the Southeast Beast on the air for you. Skip Copeland alongside my buddy Chris Chandler, and we're here to recap the Savages' exciting win over the Poteau Pirates in a big 4A4 district contest this weekend. Savages with a 28-14 win puts them in sole possession of first place in District 4A4, and really couldn't be in a much better spot, Chris, at this point in the season. The Savages played really, really well.
Yeah, Skip, we posed the question, what would it look like if Broken Bow put together the first half against Medill with the second half against Fort Gibson? Well, we found that out. The Poteau Pirates found that out. And maybe even more importantly, the Broken Bow Savages found that out Thursday night at Memorial Stadium. Just a fantastic, complete game. And they wound up with the biggest win of the season.
Yeah, no doubt. The Savages really did lots of things extremely well. I thought they had a great combination of players on the field. They had a great game plan prepared. They executed their game plan very, very well. They made very few mistakes. We talked about them, needing to be disciplined, particularly on defense with regard to, that hard snap count and so forth. They did all of those things. They did that and so much more. They really were impressive from really the beginning of the game all the way through. The defense played extremely well, but the offense was clicking pretty well, at times as well.
And the dominance of the offensive and defensive lines was the most impressive thing to me. You look at those big linemen and all that misdirection you see, the dominant play that Poteau had exhibited prior to the season. We watched them dominate Hilldale. And then they come to Broken Bow, and we start whipping them at the line of scrimmage. We beat them in the trenches.
There's no question. We talked about the fact that it was going to be a physical football game, that the Pirates really identify themselves as a physical football team. They want to beat you at the line of scrimmage, and boy, they got it handed to them. I got to say, that's front seven actually was really a front eight this time because the Savages switched their defense up. What we had been watching from the Savages, they put an extra linebacker in there, took a safety out, put an extra linebacker in, and really dominated the line of scrimmage against these Pirates.
And hand it to Max Rupp. I mean, he had returned last week, but he was started there on the line as like a walk-off defensive end, and they did move Roberts up to the line of scrimmage, and man, that really made a big difference. Once the ball was snapped, you just had a bunch of black jerseys flying to the football, and had some nice solo tackles, but most of it was the entire team was in there and just stopped that juggernaut that had been the Poteau offense. Was stopped them in their tracks and handed a lot of that to the defensive scheme, as you mentioned, and it was almost perfectly executed by the young men that were out there on the field.
And in fairness to the Poteau Pirates, I will say this: their best running back was not playing offense. He played defense the entire football game, but Dax Collins did not play offense. I think he was there for a couple of snaps, and that was about it. So that does make a difference when your best ball players are not on the field or not in their normal position. That does make a difference, but I don't know how much of a difference it makes with Broken Bow this week. I certainly don't know if that was the difference in the football game, because the Savages dominated up front and executed extremely well on offense.
They really did, and you look at it. Broken Bow scored 28 points overall against Poteau, but they could have actually put up more. So you look at what other teams have scored against that Poteau defense, and look not only how many points we scored, but how we did it. But we, one of the things that I did not see, I expected to have some aerial acrobatics, maybe Bromley throw into Whitfield or something. I did not think that you would see Camden Rogers running up the middle and just right through both levels at the line of scrimmage and just going into the end zone.
Yeah, he did it more than once in the football game, but he particularly did. So the Savages, first of all, let's talk about the fact that we won the turnover battle in the first half as well. And the first points that we got was off of a Whitfield interception. Kyron was in the middle of the field and really just stepped up, took the football, put us in great field position to 33-yard line. And then you're right, Rogers made a great run. He broke a couple of tackles, left a couple of people in their tracks, and scored that 33-yarder to put us on the board with 5:11 left in the first period. We had a 7-0 lead, and I was feeling pretty good.
Yeah, broke a couple. I mean, once he came through the line of scrimmage, really did an excellent job of breaking a couple of tackles. But, hand it to Reese Hoover, to Kite, to Burris, to Zach O'Donnell and Bahena, those linemen, because they did open a gap for him. I mean, he broke tackles, but he was already in the secondary when he broke them. So that was just an excellent job by the offensive line, opening a gap. He shot through it. And, of course, with Camden Rogers, he's at full speed after about 3 steps.
Yeah, both teams had, limited success through the middle part of the first half. The Savage offense had some good plays, but really couldn't sustain a drive until they got into the last part of the half, and they got in that hurry-up offense, and they executed that hurry-up offense as well as I've seen them do it all year, and really did just move the ball down the field. They were aided by a 15-yard face mask penalty, but it was, it was a deserved penalty because he snapped our tailback's head back when he grabbed his face mask. But the Savages put that 2-minute drive together. They put a 73-yard drive together that was really a key play. Was a 37-yard pass to Kyron Whitfield where he really was only 7 or 8 yards down the field and just froze some people in their tracks, took it down to the 3-yard line. Brumley did the rest, and with a minute and a half left in the first half, we had a 2-touchdown lead, 14-0 over the Poteau Pirates. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, and it was power football there at the end. That was a beautiful move, though. Kyron Whitfield doing what he does, and Brumley getting, as you said, got the ball right out to him. Christian Brumley, kind of a master class in quarterbacking on Thursday night. But once they got down, Whitfield took it all the way down to about the 3-yard line, 2-yard line, and had to run a couple of plays. But we put in the beef package, had Leland Billy go in there, Aiden Coley lining up, and along with Zach O'Donnell already on the line, and just Brumley just ran in behind him and waltzed into the end zone.
So the Savages took it in 14-0 into the halftime locker room, knowing that they had possession of the football to begin the second half. The coaches had to be really excited about their way their team was playing, and really were probably just doing some fine tuning. There wasn't a big adjustment to be made at halftime. There really were just a few little things that you want your team to do better. Those little do better things you have. But as far as making a big adjustment, there was no big adjustment made. In fact, the adjustment we made was to do more of the same, get Whitfield involved in the offense, and we did that right away in the second half.
Yeah, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the Savages came out again. They just what a hugely physical football game, and Aiden Coley, just a couple of those defensive plays. Remember Coley just laying a couple of guys out, and then just some really good defensive play. We talked about one play where it was actually Dylan Kissy that just went right through the line and shoved a blocker into the back. Just a great play by the nose guard.
Yeah, worth mentioning that, Broken Bow has moved some folks around. Where we had two-way starters the first part of the year, we don't anymore. And so our kids are fresh on both sides of the football, and that's, a testament to those kids, Dylan Kissy and Goss stepping up and playing, and Max Rupp getting back to health. And, we just, I thought all around defensively looked strong from start to finish. Got to Whitfield, as I mentioned, involved in the offense quickly in the second half as well. We took that second half kickoff when he stacked 5 receivers up to the top of the screen up there, as they say in the TV business. And boy, you talk about a dime now. Christian Brumley laid it out for Whitfield, and that was one of the easier touchdowns that you'll see all year, and it came against one of the best teams we'll play all year.
Boy, it was a beautiful pass, too, because it was just a route down the middle. Actually, both of those, the long gain by Whitfield was a short pass across the middle, and that other one was, he just had the guy beat by a couple of steps, and Christian Brumley just threw a rope, hit him in stride, and result, what was that? Was that like a 60-yard touchdown?
Yeah, that was a 60-yarder, sure was.
Wow.
Just like a minute into the second half, 10:57 left in the third period, we were up by 3 touchdowns. And, I think everybody was a bit stunned on both sides of the stadium. I certainly was confident going into the game. I thought we had the better football team. I didn't realize we were that much better. We really outplayed them.
And they looked like Savage football. We were both, again, excuse me, I still can't talk from all the yelling I did on Thursday night, but we talked about that game. Afterwards said, there's a buzz in this stadium. There's just a feeling, a vibe here, and the feeling is that this is traditional Savage football. We came and we brought the pain, we hit them hard, and then we executed well on both sides of the football. It was reminiscent of those great state championship teams from back in the 70s and 80s. That's what it's like to be. That's what it means to be a Broken Bow football team.
Yeah, I saw a lot of former players at the game on Thursday, and everybody was excited about the way we played. I think when you see that kind of physicality from the football team, particularly those of us that played, we feel good about Savage football when we see the team play like that. When you see them execute and hustle to the ball, and boy, when you see them bring the pads when they get there, that's really fun.
And it puts us in sole possession of first place in District 4A4, where you're masters of our own destiny from here on out.
Yeah, the Pirates, you were able to move the football, and then they were able to get into the end zone on a great run. I have to say, the kid made a great stayed on his feet. We had people in the position to put him on his back, and we just didn't get him down. And so they were able to get on the board with, 3:57 left in the third quarter. They had a 33-yard touchdown run. We probably helped them a little bit with a little bit of laziness, maybe on the backside pursuit, and certainly with the missed tackling. But they were able to get 21-7. We swapped possessions mostly throughout the remainder of the half, and until the Savages were able to, get the ball down to the end zone. I mean, they were able to get Rogers again. You talked about those two runs that he made, both of those delays that he ran right up the middle of the field. And, I mean, he just made people miss. He broke tackles. He really looked good running the football.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Camden Rogers probably weighs 135 pounds, and he's running through tackles of these guys that are starters for at the time, until the new ratings came out. It's still the second-rate football team in the state in Class 4A, and he just runs right through them. I mean, he's showing his strength, and that's the thing is Rogers, he keeps his balance really well. He runs straight over with his body over his legs, and so you can't just knock his legs. You can't. I mean, he's light, but he runs strong, and so he keeps his balance well and keeps kind of leaning forward, and so you can't just brush him off his feet. And he displayed a great two great runs, and again straight up the middle, like he had a big hole and just took the best advantage of it he could. And then with a couple of broken tackles, one went in the end zone, the other one got into the red zone. Yeah,
the second run that we're talking about, that was on there were only just about 5 minutes left in the game. We were up by a couple of touchdowns. They kind of had momentum. They had scored on their previous possession, and and then he breaks that 45-yard run, and Collins does run him down and save the touchdown. But I think it took us two more plays, and Bromley took a 5-yarder into the end zone with 4:23 left in the ball game. We were up again by 3 scores, 28-7. They came back out, ran their 2-minute offense, and they were able to get down the field and score, and make it 28-14, but there was just too little too late. At that point, the Savages had it under control. We were able to run out the clock and get that victory. 28-14, the final score. The Savages still undefeated in District 4A4 and looking to move forward with that momentum into this weekend's football game against the Hilldale Hornets. That's going to be another physical football team for the Savages.
Yeah, the Hornets come in. The Savages ratings came out today. Savages are, have hopped up to being the third-ranked team in the state. We're at number 3. Hilldale's at number 10. The game is at Hilldale, and that does make a difference. It's a long way to travel up there. Savages have to go on the road, and the Hornets playing in their home stadium, so they have that home field advantage. Broken Bow does get possibly a extra day of rest, extra than normal, as they played on Thursday, and this game's going to be on Friday.
Yeah, it is. But you're right. It's a long bus ride to Muskogee, and another team that prides themselves on their physicality, the Hilldale Hornets. They've got some pretty good linemen, some fire plug type linemen. Some 5'10", 5'11" guys that'll go 215, 220 pounds that they like to push you off the line of scrimmage. They look very similar up front to Poteau. In fact, we saw Hilldale and Poteau play one another on live stream, and to me, Poteau was the more physical of the two football teams. I don't want to predestine anything, because you want to be prepared for a very physical Hornets football team. But you just came off of playing a really good game against the Poteau Pirates. I would say let's just do more of the same this weekend.
Well, that's the thing about that kind of that style of football. You get in there, you get hits, and you saw the players celebrating. On the field, you could just feel it. Like that's what you do. You rush the ball, you hit the guy. But a lot of those tackles were, 5, 6 different Savages grabbing a piece of the ball carrier, and that's something you want to continue. And so I think that does build on itself. You remember that as a player. You got guys like I mentioned, Max Rupp, is back in the lineup, and he's a headhunter. You've got guys like Coley that are, younger. I mean, he started last year, still though not a senior, and you got guys that are first-time starters this season, like Dylan Kissy, but are just continue to improve every week, and they're starting to get that physicality and that I guess that will to hit people. And so I think we're going to see a physical football game. You talked about the lineman. I mean, the nose guard for Hilldale is a guy named Caden Scholes. He's 5'7", 265.
There you go.
Yeah, packed in there.
Yeah.
So
that is literally a fire plug.
Yeah. But they also, they also have some good offensive linemen. In fact, and it does play defense as well. One of their guys, a guy named Evan Keefe, and he's not just a D1 prospect. He's a commit. He's already verbally committed to Air Force Academy. He's 6'3", 275, and he's good. They also line him up at tight end, and then they'll put a guy named Branscombe that is an H-back, but they'll put in a power package, and they do run with Eric Virgil, their great running back that we've seen over the last 3 years. I mean, we saw him a little bit as a freshman, but we've seen him. He actually is the guy that pretty much defeated Broken Bow last time they won. But they did rely on the running game, and that's something Broken Bow is just excellent at defending.
Yeah, we've had a couple of common opponents, including the aforementioned Poteau Pirates. They were a 30-7 winner over Hilldale. That the Hornets were able to put away the Sallisaw Black Diamonds 49-0. So 7 touchdowns output there. I think the Savages were very similar. I think we may have scored 8 touchdowns, against Sallisaw. But either way, it was very similar. And Sallisaw doesn't present much of a defense, so that's not really a good combination to judge. They have lost a couple of games. Besides that Poteau game, they also lost at Claremore earlier in the year. Claremore's no slouch, 5A school, playing really good. That was a couple of scores, 27-10, the final in that one. So the Hornets are capable of playing a really good football game, and they are certainly on their home field. They're going to protect their turf this weekend. They want to be physical, but they've got to watch this film. Just like, the Savages are watching film on them, they're going to see a really tough football team in the Broken Bow Savages when they prepare this week.
Yeah, it's not just at the line. One of the things you're going to look at is they got a guy named Lamarian Burton. He's number 7, and he's a defensive back and a receiver, and he's a big target. He's 6'1", 190, and he'll be their shutdown corner. One of the things, though, I noticed, and again, this was against Poteau, which does not throw the ball. I mean, in fact, they hardly ever split a receiver out, and against Sallisaw, which you're not as concerned about Sallisaw's wide receivers, hopefully, as you would be about like a Kyron Whitfield, but he gets 2 to 3 yards off the line of scrimmage. And so the matchup between Burton and Kyron Whitfield is going to be an interesting one. But if he does that against Kyron Whitfield, it may give an opportunity for Christian Brumley to hook up with Kyron Whitfield for some long passing plays.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. And something that we noticed is that they're still playing a backup quarterback. Hilldale is not. We're not sure what the status is on their starter, but he didn't play last week, and we're not seeing any indication that he'll be back this week. But you got to prepare for them, like he's going to be the guy, and that's going to prepare you for his backup as well, I would assume. So we'll see what happens come Friday night. But the Savages and the Hornets are going to kick it off at 7:30, no matter who's quarterback in either team. That's going to happen. Savages need to get another win, and just like we talked about in the preview, when we previewed the district, you just got to win them one at a time. You just line up and just try to win this week. Each win is another step forward, and so far so good for the Savages.
Yeah, and we're going to be hopefully we'll see that same physical team we saw Thursday night at Broken Bow show up on Friday up at Hilldale.
Yeah, that'd be great if we can. That's the kind of football I like to watch, and I particularly like it when it's the Savages that are doing it.
Yeah, interesting. I think, and I need to get the stats on this, but Eric Virgil, he's their star running back, and he's a senior. But I think he is on the verge of breaking not only a single season rushing record there at Hilldale, but also a career rushing record there at Hilldale. And so when the Savage, obviously that's not that important a thing. You want to win the game. That's the thing. You want to win. You want to execute well. But that's just an interesting. That's going to add some interest to it. And he is a great running back. But that's to see if the Savages can hold him. To maybe under 100 or under 50 yards. I mean, the guy had 335 yards and 6 touchdowns versus Stillwell, but he only had 54 yards versus Poteau. So I'd say for the Savages, maybe that's your mark. You hold him to less than 54 yards.
Yeah, if they can't score, they can't win. That's the name of the game. So keep playing defense the way we've been playing it. Looking forward to it. 7:30 kickoff this weekend. The number 3 ranked Broken Bow Savages leading the district 4A4 and on the road to Muskogee to play the Hilldale Hornets. We'll have a recap next week on another edition of the Southeast Beast, and we'll preview the upcoming game for next week, the Stillwell Indians for the Broken Bow Savages as well. So be sure and join us. Tell your friends about us, the Southeast Beast, right here on YouTube. Until then, I'm Skip Copeland.
And I'm Chris Chandler. And remember, once a Savage,
always a Savage.